Hello everyone, this is Renee. Today I want to talk about some recently announced and launched functionality in SharePoint Online, namely the possibility to rename and update your SharePoint Online site collection URLs. Previously, so far, when you created your SharePoint Online site collection, the URL that you chose initially was fixed. You were not able to rename it, to update it, to change it afterwards. So whatever you chose, you had to stick with it, or you had to migrate your content to a newly created site collection. Microsoft made it available now last week. Since then, you can actually go into the recently newly launched SharePoint Admin Center, and can actually go in there, select your site collection that you want to update, and update the URL. So what I want to do now is actually I want to quickly showcase that to you. I want to show you how it works and also mention some of the limitations, but also some of the great functionalities behind it. So as you see, I'm in my admin center here in SharePoint Online. I see my site collection, and I selected already a team site here that I created a while ago. And it's called site column formatting test. The URL, as you can see on the right side, is called also column formatting test. And what I want to do now is actually I want to go in here and I want to change that, because it's no longer a test site, but it should be, let's call it a production site. As you can see here, there's now this edit button, so I can, or that edit link, so I can quickly click on it. A new window pops up on the right side where it tells me now I can change the site address. So I have to wait for it to finish loading. Once that's done, then I can actually go ahead, update the URL in here and save it. So here it is. As mentioned, I can quickly update it. Once I make a change here, it's going to get validated to make sure that it's not conflicting with any existing name. The new site address that I want to use is available, so you can just simply click Save. And the changes are now getting updated in the background. Now, one thing to note is actually that when you're making that change, what people should not be doing is actually access the site, make changes to content, etc. Because they may encounter various issues. They may encounter some loss in connectivity in the meantime when they try to save a file, for example, update a file. So ideally, you should not update those URLs actually while other people are using it, but rather do it during a maintenance window. This site collection that we're just renaming here, I opened it in a separate tab here. So you can see here's my site collection, it's a column formatting test. And if I access it, you will see it's actually still working, still accessible. And the renaming just takes a couple of minutes, so we have to wait for that to work. So, site has been updated. As you can see over here, the new URL is now column formatting. So that change worked. There was no issue here at all. If we try to access it again, you will see, okay, site name is still formatting test, but that's something that I can now update afterwards. In case you're wondering what happens when you now try to access the old URL, so in my case here, column formatting test, in the background there's actually a redirect happening, so anyone accessing the old URL will get redirected to the new URL, happening here right now. So if I access now here, for example, my shared documents within my rename site collection, as you can see, that's working. But if I actually try to access now my column formatting test, so my previous URL for my site collection, it's still going to redirect me to the correct location. So I don't have to worry about a majority of the issues here. There won't be any issues with the renaming of the URL. People will still be able to access the current site collection. They can still access any paths that may have bookmarked or so. They can still see the content that they've seen before. However, some links may still break. For example, if you've got some JavaScript maybe somewhere that uses a permanent hard-coded URL, or if you've got some other content that use hard-coded URLs, it's still a good practice to verify that everything's still working as it should after the renaming of the URL. It's a good practice to confirm that there are no other issues, nothing broke as part of the renaming. Especially important then when you've got sites that get heavily used by their users. You want to make sure that everyone still gets to work with the existing content. Now that was a very quick and easy thing here, so that took only 5 minutes to rename. Quick change in the admin center. Quickly want to talk about some other things you should be aware of. So one thing, for example, is that not every site collection can be renamed. There are some limitations. Here, for example, I've got a classic site collection at classic team site, which it will not allow me to rename. When I try to do so, I will get a warning saying, some features might not work after you change the site address. There's an app installed on the site. Well, I can try to rename it. There may be issues afterwards. So you see the big warning here that I should be aware of, that I should verify. Other site collections that can't be renamed are, for example, when you've got a publishing site collection. So here there's a publishing portal down here. Let me just deselect all sites that are selected, reselect again. Publishing portals, as an example, can't get renamed either. So what you can rename are, for example, groups, modern team sites, modern communication sites, and classic team sites. But when you look at document center, at publishing sites, or anything like other site collections that you previously created from different templates, those can't be renamed. So you see here, for example, the URL for this type of site can't be changed for the publishing portal. There are also some PowerShell commandlets available. So if you want to rename site collection URLs in bulk, you can actually do so via PowerShell. That's also possible. You don't have to do everything through the UI, but I'm not going to cover that right now. Important thing right now is to be aware of the change that can be done here right now in the admin center. Other than that, there may be other limitations, or there are some other limitations. For example, when it comes to Power Apps within site collections, you should be aware that they may not work afterwards. If you've got some flows, for example, you may need to republish them. Workflows, you need to republish them. Microsoft Flow might not work afterwards. So it's not 100% of site collections that can easily get renamed, or the URLs can get renamed. Be aware that there are limitations. Not everything can be updated accordingly, and you should be careful about when you actually do a renaming, as again, some content may potentially break, some URLs may break, and users may not be able to use them properly afterwards. Now, as for use cases, when do you actually think you would rename a site collection URL? You've seen here previously my site collection here, for example, had a test in the URL name. That's a common scenario, that you create a test site, do some testing, and in the end you say, okay, all the work that went into it, now you would have to recreate it again, maybe migrate the content over to the new site or so. You can now simply actually rename the site collection if required, for example, from test, or remove the test. Other thing is maybe a project had a different name, has a different name now. You want to rename your site collection accordingly. Possible right now. You don't have to stick with the old name. And of course, very common also, maybe you've got a certain kind of naming convention for site collections. Someone didn't follow that naming convention. What do you do? Firstly, again, either you ignore it, or you had to create a new site collection again, migrate the content, and cost a lot of additional work. Now you can hopefully just easily go in and do the renaming here. Alright, that's all I wanted to show for today. Hope to see you again. Hope you learned something. Cheers.